Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jason Catalano, and this is Catalano Baking, where it's our mission to provide baked goods that are high protein to support your aesthetic, athletic, and fitness goals. And for today, we have a good one. It's a book summary of one of my favorite books, The $100 Startup by Chris Guillebeau. Okay? So for this book, it gets broken down into three main parts. The first part is, he says, the unexpected journey. The part two has to do with taking your purpose and passion and taking it to the streets in terms of execution. And then, of course, part three has to do with leveraging and how to create systems. So if we actually look at this book, overall, it's a phenomenal book. And it's primarily designed for people that are thinking about a side hustle, thinking about a side project, side business, how to create a little bit of income on the side while you're working, or if you're just trying to create a new venture from the start, bootstrapped model. And he talks about those three parts as a phased project. But if I have to tell you the macro, the big idea from Chris is, he quotes, "It's a micro business revolution, a way of earning a good living while crafting a life of independence and purpose." So what I love about Chris's quote here is that he's talking about the $100 startup as kind of like a Tim Ferris 4-hour workweek type model, where it's not so much about jumping all in into an entrepreneurial venture, building the next Apple, making billions of dollars, and really changing the world, as you continually hear a lot of like MBA programs or business schools. His is a much lower barrier to entry. It's a much lower threshold. It's a much more palpable, smaller amount of change. What he's talking about is, how can you really create a life of independence for yourself where you earn enough to support it? And you're doing something that you're passionate, that you're creative, that you care about, that you truly know gives value to people, but that you also get some value back. This is something that's not only going to pay the bills, but you can also kind of live the life you want. And that's a very, very macro big idea that the book tries to deliver. And obviously I think the book does deliver, but the side hustle book that he does as a secondary sequel definitely kind of fills in some of the missing parts. But in terms of part one, his first major idea has to do with the unexpected journey. So the unexpected journey just has to kind of start with, how do you start? You have in your idea, I want to go start a new business. I want to do something for myself. I want to give something back to the world. Whatever your true cause or purpose is, you have it, but you don't even know where to start. And that's where he really kind of comes down to the three minor points within there, which I would consider you having the skills already. I would consider having purpose over passion, and I would consider it as there being a new demographic that you need to reach. Okay, so for the first one, I'm gonna go ahead and quote on page 23. Surprisingly, it's actually a quote from Karl Marx, out of all people, but it's actually a brilliant quote for what he's talking about. He says, "Catch a man a fish and you can sell it to him. Teach a man to fish and you ruin a wonderful business opportunity." Now, what is this quote really saying? Well, obviously we all know it's teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. But when it comes to business, that's terrible. You just had a business opportunity, a problem that somebody had, and you taught them a way to solve it, but you didn't extract any value out of it. Okay, now this does sound a little bit harsh, but this is business reality, right? You don't want to have to work for free. You do need, in this economic system, a way to extract value out. And this is where Chris talks about starting off with, what skills do you already have? Like, a real good example of this would be for this show. I've already been interested in baking and cooking for a while, so it's definitely something that I already have a little bit of a knowledge and a little bit of a, experience with, in terms of different high protein cooking and high protein baking, because I've had my own problems trying to get extra protein in my diet. So what that means is that if I already have some skills there, that's probably where you should start, is where do you have the skills, the experience, or the creativity already, okay? And this is where he kind of goes into, you need to think about purpose over passion, because your passion could be for something like football or basketball or something like that. But if there's not a great market for it, or if people aren't really willing to pay for that problem to be solved from you, great that you're passionate about it, but it's not really going to be a successful business venture. For instance, baked goods in general for us is very purposeful. Okay, for a lot of people, it's a great way to get some nutrition, great way to get higher protein if you're in athletics or you have fitness goals and you're working out a lot. So there's a very, very specific problem that the grocery store, Walmart, they're not providing baked goods with those solutions. So you're going to probably have to make it on your own, okay? And so once again, that's a great business opportunity in that we can teach, right? We can teach it and then sell the ingredients, sell the finished products ourselves, right? So there's definitely a business opportunity. The other part he talks about is the new demographics. And the new demographics have to do with the old ones being about things like race or gender or what ethnicity or country you're from. But in a connected world, this doesn't make sense. In a connected world, it's more about what beliefs you have, what values you share, what interests or hobbies you have. So for instance, is the baking show. Really nothing to do with what country you're from or what gender you are or anything like that. It has to do with people that believe in fitness, people that believe in a high protein diet, and people that believe in cooking and staying healthy for themselves. Okay, so part 2 has to do with the streets in terms of execution. And the 3 minor points that he talks about is a 1-page business plan, what your offer is going to be, as well as talking about advertising and promotions. So his first part, he's going to talk about the 1-page business plan. And Peter Drucker on page 93 says, plans are only good intentions until they immediately degenerate into hard work. And obviously Peter Drucker is one of the 4 founders of a lot of academia around business. This is absolutely true. When you're first beginning a small venture, a small business, a side hustle, you need to think about the execution way more than the plan. And the plan needs to be something very basic and simple that's going to get changed over time anyway. And so a good way to think about it is, what are just the real core elements you need in your 1-page business plan? This book has it in there. He just talks about things like, what's your core audience? How are you going to make money? You know, I would argue, what's your purple? Like, what is your purple in your plan? So what's your purple in terms of what's your differentiation? How is it remarkable? And then what's your plan? Like, how are you actually going to execute the value, right? So the 3 things that he mentions in terms of the offer that you're going to present to your audience, the 3 big things that I took away from it was, one of them is the graphic facilitator. What is a way that you can introduce graphics in a way to communicate a lot of value, a lot of benefits, in a way that is not necessarily having to make the person think too much. They can just see it, or they can smell it, or they can feel it. Something having to do with the senses. What is that graphic showing them exactly what they're going to get in terms of the full benefits? The second thing he talks about is the nudge. And the nudge has to do with, what is that little bit of nudge that you're giving them to act now, to act with urgency? Typically this has to do with, in the offer, you're going to offer some limited time bonus, or you're going to offer some sort of discount, or you're going to offer something, but it has to be action now. Typically, if there's not action now, there's some sort of consequence. And then, of course, the third part he talks about, which this one really hit home for me, which was, what people say they want is not always what they want, okay? This is a big one. For me, this has to do with a small business, understanding that we sometimes have to offer first and then get feedback, but also understand that sometimes people don't really know what they want until you tell them what they want. Sometimes people don't really know what they want until you actually show them what they want, okay? So for instance, with this channel, people may not know that they want a peanut butter cookie that tastes like a cheesecake or rum or brandy or something like that. But once you show the recipe and you show that it works, now it's a little bit different. Now all of a sudden it's something that's real, it's tangible. They see it, oh, that does look good. I didn't even know that existed, right? People only think about in terms of the propaganda they've heard around them, what their peers are saying. But when you offer something new to them that says, hey, this is something better than what you've seen before, remember, that wasn't in their mindset before when they told you what the commentary was. So always remember that sometimes part of your job as being the curator is to give them what you believe they want. Then he talks about the ads. And the ads, this one's actually really, really funny. This one, he talks about ads are like sex, only losers pay for it. Now, this makes a lot of sense to me in terms of a small business side hustle. You don't have money to spend on ads, right? You have to think a little bit outside the box here. You have to think, I can't spend $10,000 to go put this out in front of, a TV audience or a newspaper or something like that. But what you do have nowadays is something called social media. So when you need to promote, and you will need to promote whatever your offer is, whatever your product and opportunities are, always think about, what are the influencers out there that I can reach? You want to think, what are the things that they need for them to promote my message at a low cost, okay? We're always thinking about low cost options here. You could do things like putting out trailers and shipping that out on social media. You can do things like free giveaways, contests, a lot of different things like that that are very low cost, however, can have a huge beneficial impact in that one person that wins the contest, they may all of a sudden get on the net and share everything about you and your brand, saying how great you are. Okay, so you're just thinking about advertising in that you're not directly paying for advertising, you're gonna have to get a little creative. So part 3 with leverage has to do with the 3 minor areas in terms of small tweaks, cloning yourself, and working on the business. So the small tweaks that Chris talks about has to do with what are the dials you can press or try and turn to get bigger ROIs. When you're first starting off with your business, you first have to establish your brand. The 3 big things that Chris talks about, of course, is the upsell, the cross-sell, and the after-sell. The upsell is just your ability to upgrade, offer your prospects a little bit better of a version or a little bit more of the same thing or a little bit additional, whatever your product is, and that's a great way to earn a little bit additional income. Another thing is also cross-selling related objects, right? For instance, if you're gonna buy a book about a business topic, you might also need another book about maybe, I don't know, if you're in terms of small business, maybe you need to learn about accounting or something like that. That would be a cross-sell. And of course, the after-sell is after you've already made your big sell, your big purchase, is there a way you can either downsell it or upsell it after you've already made the sell? Okay, clearly someone's already given you the money, they already see the value in what you're presenting. What are your additional business opportunities? A big one in this one that I think, especially for small business owners, when you're first starting out, is going to be through affiliate. Definitely go on places like ClickBank and Commission Junction and things like that. Look for affiliate offers that you can look up yourself, test yourself, and if you like the offer, if you like the product itself, try and sell it yourself. You can actually get some really good commission rates, and it's a great way to earn a little bit of additional income in the digital age. That goes to the second part where they say clone yourself. This is what I love about things like YouTube, particularly, and film. You can make one video, provide tons of value, and over time as your brand increases and you start to get more of a following, I don't have to do this work over and over and over again. I can make the pitch once on video, put it out to the world, and put some affiliate links or put some product links or try and make a sale there. Or even if you're just trying to work on your brand and deliver value, that's okay as well. Down the line, people are going to see you 1, 2, 3, 4, on average over 7 times before they purchase from you. So when we know this, we know that what you want to be able to do is just keep cloning yourself. What are ways that you can put work in once and not have to put in work over and over and over again? A big part of this for you guys in terms of Side Hustle Nation is going to be your website design and your video editing. Make sure you go on places like Upwork or Fiverr and try and get some quality outsourced resources there so that they can take care of that so you can work on more other things in terms of the content creation. And that goes with the third point. Work on the business, not in the business. You need to be able to develop systems as a small business owner to where, once again, big target, going back to the macro, big idea, it's to gain independence, and the big idea is to earn just enough income that you can pretty much live the life you want on your terms. What this means is you can't focus on always trying to do everything yourself. At some point with your small project, what are a few things you can not do yourself, which is going to allow you the time to go do whatever you want to do. For instance, I want to go play with my family, go to the pool, go to the beach, and not always have to worry about video editing or whether I have to put in certain links, things like that. You can always outsource it. And so with that, this was the $100 startup by Chris Guillebeau. I also recommend the sequel to this one, which is the Side Hustle Nation, I believe. That book came out about a year ago. Phenomenal book. Go check it out if you are very, very interested in starting your own business. And with that,